All right, so here's the one theory concept that absolutely changed everything for me when it comes to arranging songs by ear. And that is chord voicings, which is the secret sauce, okay? When it comes to creating emotional fingerstyle covers, okay? Creative covers, all right? So, look, pros, all right? They don't memorize like 500 chord shapes. Or memorizing 500 chord shapes, right, isn't what makes them a pro, okay? What actually makes them a pro is their ability to build their own chord voicings, okay, on the spot, all right? That's what gives them, that's what gives their playing emotion and makes them original, okay? So you can build any chord like on the neck, right, without like copying songs anymore, right? You're more of like, in a way, owning them, right? It's actually coming more from yourself, and to literally give you like a mini way, right? Something that you could do like right now. And I'm just gonna explain this briefly. But like, let's say we just take like a G major chord, okay? If we take, for example, like a G major chord, right? This is G, okay? Right here on our high E string, okay, third fret. That's a G note, okay? So there's this pattern. There's something called the whole step half step pattern. That if we follow that whole step half step pattern, it gives us the notes of like a G major scale, right? Which is basically a key, right? The key basically tells you the notes of what the song is going to have. So when it comes to building a chord, for example, right, a G major chord specifically, if we simply, right, follow that pattern, right, we can figure out the notes of that G major scale, okay? So within that G major scale, right, when we actually figure it out with this pattern, it tells us the G major chord, okay? So I'm going to explain to you how this works. So for example, if we start on G, okay, and we follow that pattern, we go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, right here. This is back to G again, okay? So right here, this is just me going down the scale. All the notes that I played right now are basically notes of that G major scale, right? They are the notes of the G major scale. So what we do to now actually figure out that chord is we're basically gonna get the first note of the G major scale. We're gonna get the third note of the G major scale, and we're gonna get the fifth note of the G major scale. Okay, that's what you call in theory terms root, third, and fifth. Okay, so those right there, the root, third, and fifth, are going to be the notes of our G major chord. Okay, so that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out the notes of our G major chord. All right, so then we can then get those notes and we can build them like anywhere we want on the fretboard. Okay, like that is it, So what we do from there, right? We go G, right? Whole step. That would be our second. We're looking for our third note of going down the scale, right? So our third note, B, right there. So we have G and B, right? So G is our root, is our first note. So G, B, that's our third note. Half step, whole step, that's our fifth note, right? Half, this would be our fourth. This whole step right here takes us to our fifth note, okay, which is our D note, okay? So right there, we just figured out G, B, and D. That is the three notes of our chord, basically, right? This is called specifically a triad. Triad is just the simplest form of chord. And that is it. All that we do now is we just basically use those three notes to build chords all across the fretboard. So, quick example, you have your G major chord right here. All this right here is just basically those three notes, right? We're repeating those three notes. I know I'm saying it's just three notes, but we actually just repeat those same three notes, and this creates that G major chord, right? This is what makes it more of a full sounding, more enjoyable chord, right? Now if we play it somewhere else, right, we have it right here. It's the same thing. We're just playing those three notes. Okay, that is it. That is for the major pattern. Okay, the minor pattern there's a different for like the minor scale, right? It's a different pattern. But yeah, okay, that's how you can literally build any chord anywhere you want on the fretboard. Okay, and now with this knowledge, when it comes to arranging, okay, with this knowledge we can actually build a chord, all right, the necessary chord, so that we can, we can take it further down the fretboard, and we're just not stuck up here, okay? Which is like some regular chord that we like already memorized, right? Maybe you haven't even memorized, and maybe you can't even build it up here because you don't even know, right? You don't even know the notes, okay? You don't even remember, you don't even know how to build that chord shape, right? So this is why it's like so important, okay? It's so important when it comes to arranging songs. It's so important when it comes to creating your own personal creative covers, okay? If you want to learn how to get the key of a song, right, or you're struggling to get the key of a song, okay, and you want to start, you want to start the process of arranging, you want to learn how to arrange, how to create your own covers, right? Stay tuned, because on the next video I'm going to walk you through step by step on what to do, on what you need to do in order to actually make that happen. So yeah, stay tuned. God bless.